Hey guys, so first of all, happy birthday to Harper Ayers. Her birthday was on Sunday, so I hope you had a great birthday. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and a happy Mother's Day to your moms. This is a review for your test. Your chapter 9 and 10 test is on Wednesday. So this will be a review. We'll go through everything that you'll need to know for your test. You can use notes on the test, but don't rely on your notes. If you rely on your notes and you're flipping through your notes for every single question, you might not finish in time. So make sure that you prepare, you go through the review video, you have notes if you need to look back for something, but don't rely on them. The test on Wednesday will start at 8:30. It will be posted at 8:30. You should start right at 8:30. You have until 10 o'clock. That's 90 minutes, an hour and a half. That's plenty of time for you to work on the test. So everybody should be finished by 10 o'clock, whether you have extended time or not. 10 o'clock is the cutoff. You need to have it submitted by then. So make sure you're starting at 8:30 and submit it by 10 o'clock, uploading it as a PDF. After today, you only have 3 math classes left. You'll take your test on Wednesday, then we'll do an activity on Thursday, an activity on Monday, and then math will be over for the year. Crazy to think about. Next Tuesday is your last day of classes. So this is your last full week, and then next Tuesday is your last day of 6th grade classes. On Wednesday, you'll do an advisory scavenger hunt, and then on Thursday, you'll do another activity with your advisory, kind of watch the scavenger hunt. We might have a little something special for you all as well in advisory on Thursday. So you'll get more information from your advisor. All right, please make sure you remember to complete that elective form for 7th grade on what electives you want to do. Ms. Fahrenberg has posted that on Schoology. All right, let's go ahead and get ready to review for the Chapter 9-10 test. As I work through the problems, you should pause the video, practice, and see if you get the same answer as I do. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here's kind of a review for Chapter 9-10, information that you need to know. You need to remember statistical questions, remember dot plots, mean, median, mode, range, outlier, and the effect that the outlier has on the mean. You need to know bar graphs, line graphs, circle and pie graphs, stem and leaf plots, and histograms. Make sure you know the purpose, what each is used for, as well as answer questions from them. You will not have to draw any of these. They will all be drawn for you, and you'll be answering questions from them, as well as knowing the shapes of distribution. All right, so let's go ahead and practice some. Things that might be helpful to help you study, you might go back over those homework checks. Don't take them again. Obviously, they're locked, not open for submissions, but you can review over those homework checks. That would be really good to look over those questions. You can always look over your notes, and then if you're confused on any lessons, you can rewatch a lesson video. All right. So let's look here and see if these are statistical questions or not. Remember the difference between a statistical question. A statistical question, you would be gathering information from a bunch of different people. If it's not a statistical question, then it has like one answer, yes or no, or an actual number, an actual answer. So how many buildings are on ESD's campus? Could you find that out and get an actual answer? Yes, you could. You could get an actual number. You could get an actual answer. So that is not a statistical question because you can get an actual answer. How many lockers are at ESD? You could ask Mr. Chine, you could ask Ms. Fahrenbrook and get an actual answer. So that is not a statistical question. How many pets do middle school students have? Well, if I asked Finley how many pets he has, if I asked Maggie how many pets she has, I might get a different answer. So each student that I ask could potentially give a different answer. So that actually is a statistical question because answers could vary. How many siblings do middle school students have? If I ask Chambers how many siblings she has, if I ask Jake how many siblings he has. So different answers for different students. So yes, that's a statistical question. So hopefully you remember the difference between statistical questions or not. Another good thing you could review is remember you took that quiz. You could go back and look over that quiz again. Okay, looking at a dot plot, answering questions from a dot plot here. So here's a dot plot, miles ran, number of miles, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause the video and make sure that you can answer these 2 questions. All right, how many people ran more than 2 miles? So here's 2. More than 2 does not include 2. So you're only looking for more than 2. Nobody ran 3. 1 person ran 4, and 2 people ran 5. So 3 people ran more than 2 miles. How many people were surveyed? Well, you would count all the dots to see how many people total were surveyed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 people were surveyed. All right, here's some data here. We're going to need to find the mean, median, mode, range, and outlier if there is one, and the effect the outlier would have on the mean. So go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and calculate the mean, median, mode, range, and find the outlier and the effect. All right, so you should have paused it to find the mean. Remember the song mean, the average, mode, most often, range, subtract the smallest from the largest, median, the middle number when you line it up from the greatest to the least, cha-cha-cha. So remember median, to find the median, you add them all up. It's the meanest type of problem because it requires the most amount of work. So when you add them all up, all right, so here's the mean, median, mode, range, and outlier all worked out for you. When you find the mean, you add them all up, get the sum, and divide by how many total data numbers there are on your data set. So I got 23 for the mean. The median, remember you have to put them in order from least to greatest first. I have 2 numbers in the middle. When I have 2 numbers in the middle, I need to find that middle number. So I add them and divide by 2. When I divided by 2, I got 16.5. So 33 divided by 2, 16.5 is my median. The mode, when there's not a number that occurs the most, it's no mode. It's not 0, because that would mean that 0 occurs the most. So no mode. The range, you subtract your smallest from the largest, 48. And the outlier, remember that's your extreme low or extreme high. So here we have an extreme high, 57, and it increases the mean. That mean is 23. Most of your data is below 23. That 57 really raises that mean up a lot. So remember that song to help you remember how to figure out the mean, median, mode, range, and what they all are. Mean, average, mode, most often, range, subtract the smallest from the largest, median, the middle number when you line them up from the greatest to the least, cha-cha-cha. So hopefully that song will help you remember. You can use your notes, but remember, don't rely on your notes. And hopefully you calculated all those correctly. All right, we're going to go through bar graph, line graph, pie graph, histogram, stem, and leaf plots, and answer questions from that. So let's first start with a line graph. So here's a line graph. You can go ahead and pause the video and answer these questions, and we'll check over them. All right, what days were warmer than 50 degrees? So warmer than 50 degrees does not include 50 degrees. So we're looking at warmer, so that would be day 2, 4, 5, and 6. 2, 4, 5, and 6. It didn't say how many days, it said what days. So you actually wanted to list those days. What days were cooler than 60 degrees? Lower than 60? Now this line graph actually has the values written on top of them, but it's important to always look at the scale. The scale is counting by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So if we went cooler than 60 degrees, we're looking at any data point lower than that line. So if they didn't have 59 there, I'd still be able to tell that that dot is less than right there. So 1, 2, 3, what days would be day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? And what was the hottest day? So it's going to be the highest point there, day 6. What was the coolest day? The lowest point, day 1. How many days were cooler than 55 degrees? So if my values weren't written there, I would be looking for something that's less than right here, halfway, if this was 50. Anything less than that? What was the how many days were cooler? Now this is how many, so I actually want 1, 2, and 3 days were cooler than 55. How many days were warmer than 60? So higher than this line is 1. And is the trend increasing or decreasing? So overall, reading it from left to right, you can see it's going up. So it would be increasing. Even though there is a little dip here, overall the trend is going from low to high, so increasing. Here's another line graph with questions. You can go ahead and pause the video and answer these questions. All right, so what day had the most cookie sales? The highest cookie sales, number of boxes. Here are your days. The highest one was Friday with 10. So Friday. What day had the least? Monday with only 1 box. What day had 7 boxes of cookies sold? Follow that 7 over. That would be Wednesday. What day had 1 box of cookies sold? 1 box right there was Monday. And what day saw a decrease in cookie sales? It's going up from Monday to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday saw that decrease. It went down on Thursday. All right, so hopefully you feel confident with line graphs. If you have any questions as you're working through this, Mr. Chine and I are on the Schoology conference. All right, let's review a bar graph. So a bar graph is used to help you to compare data because you can look at the bars and it helps you compare. Whereas a line graph helps you compare data over time as time increases, as the days go on, what is happening to the cookie sales. On this one, what's happening to the temperatures in New York City as the days increase, the temperatures are increasing. So line graphs are helpful to show data over time. Bar graphs are useful to compare data. So here, looking at this bar graph, these are your grades. This is the subject. This counts by 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. So pause the video and answer what was the grade in your math class and what's the difference between your English and history grades. All right, so your grade in math class, this scale is a little tight to try and read. So we're gonna have to look really closely here. This is 80 and 100, so right here would be 90. So if that was 90, I would say that math is in between that 80 and 90. So I'd say 85. Now, if you have anything like 83, 84, 85, 86, probably is acceptable because it's a larger scale there of 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. So it's harder to be more precise. What's the difference between your English and history grades? All right, so English here isn't quite at 100. You can see it's a little bit below that line. So I'd say that's like a 99 in English. And history could be right here on that line for 80 or a little bit below it. So maybe a 79 in history. If you said 80, that's okay. So your difference between your English and history grades is about 20 points. If you have like 18, 19, 20, or 21 points difference there. But it's really going to be important that you show your work to show like what grade you picked for English and what grade you picked for history, so we can really see what numbers you chose looking at that scale. All right, let's review pie charts. So here's a circle graph, a pie graph. Go ahead and pause the video and answer the questions that follow. All right, so what was the favorite activity? That's going to be the biggest slice, and it is walking. What is the least favorite activity? The smallest sliver, or they even show the percentages here. So other. What percent voted for swimming? 18%. And what fraction? Fraction voted for swimming. Well, we know swimming is 18%, and we know how to make a percent into a fraction. We remember that percent means out of 100, and then we could simplify, divide it by 2, 9/50ths there. So you can even make your percent into a fraction. Now remember, a pie graph or a circle graph is really good to compare part to whole relationship. It shows you that part that liked walking compared to the whole survey, the whole favorite activities there. So circle or pie graph is really good for that part to whole relationship. All right, now this is a stem and leaf plot. And if you remember, stem and leaf plots use digits to organize data. So it uses the digits to help organize the data, those stem and leaf plots. So this stem and leaf plot shows the grades on math tests from one class. Here are the different grades of the math test, and looking at the key so you know how to read it. So the key here, 57, means 57. Somebody got a 57 on the math test. This is just from one class. Made up data. How many students are in the class? So looking at the stem and leaf plot, you could count all the different grades to figure out how many students are in the class. So go ahead and pause the video so you can answer these questions here. How many students in the class, range, mode, median, and how many students scored at least an 80. Pause the video to answer those questions. Okay, how many students in the class? So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So there are 22 different grades gathered in this stem and leaf plot, so there are 22 students in this one class. The range, you subtract the smallest from the largest, so the largest grade is a 103. So you would do 103 minus the lowest grade, 57. This is again where it's going to be important that you show your work so we can see what numbers you used. So 103 minus 57 is 46. So that's a pretty wide range. Without showing you this, if I just told you, hey, the range on this test is a 46, that would tell you, whoa, the range of the scores is pretty wide. Somebody scored pretty low, somebody scored pretty high. The range tells you how spread apart the data is, and here it's spread apart pretty far, from a 57 to a 103. What's the mode? Remember, the mode is most often. So, which one occurs the most often? Oh, I see 273s, 278s, what else? 294s, I see 395s, 299s, and 2 100s. So 95 is the mode because that occurs the most. Now, if there was only 2 95s there, then you would say all of those that occurred twice would be the mode. 73, 78, 94, 95, 99, and 100. But since there are 3 95s, the mode is 95. All right, and the median is that middle number when you line them up from greatest to the least or least to greatest. So let's go ahead and write out those 22 grades. So I have 57, 73, 73, 75, 78, 78. Okay, once I have all my data written out, I can count them and make sure that I have 22 grades written out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So I know that I've written all my data down correctly. And now find that middle number. Cross the one off. High, low, 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 high, low. And then I have 2 here in the middle. But they're the same number. What's in between 94 and 94 is 94. If I add them up and divide by 2, I'm still going to get 94. So the median is a 94. How many students scored at least an 80? So at least means an 80 or higher. So if there was an 80 here, I would include it because at least an 80 means 80 or higher. So let's count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 students scored an 80 or higher. So majority scored an 80 or higher. That range, though, just shows you that there was at least one really low score, a big difference between the lowest and the highest. Okay, guys, 2 more concepts to go over. Histogram and then shapes of distribution. So histogram here, a histogram is really good because it shows, or it's used to show frequencies and intervals. It uses intervals to show frequencies. So that's what a histogram is used for. The purpose, if you remember at the beginning of our review, I said that it's important for you to know the purpose of each graph and what it's used for. So that will be important for you to have on the test. So make sure that you understand and remember the purpose or what each graph is used for. I've been telling you that for every graph as we go through it. So histogram is shows frequencies of the data in intervals. All right, so this is miles biked over the weekend. This is how many miles, and this is the frequency that those miles occur. So go ahead and pause the video and answer which interval has the least data values, which one has the most, and then answer those 2 questions and check back. Which interval has the least data values is the 0 to 2 miles. That's your lowest one, and the highest one is the 6 to 8 miles. So looking at this, most people biked 6 to 8 miles over the weekend. I hope you got to go outside and either bike or run or scooter or skateboard something because the weather was so beautiful. All right, our last concept to go over is shapes of distribution. Remember, they can be skewed left, They could be skewed right. They could be symmetric. They could be flat or other. Okay. So skewed left, I always think of it as which way are you going to slide? If this was a slide, which way would you slide? Let's look back at this Miles Bite. Which way would you slide? What kind of distribution is this? Here, I see this as a, if I kind of trace over it with my pen, it goes like that. So you would slide this way. So this one is a skewed left. You would slide to the left. Skewed left. Let's look at these. It can be a dot plot. It could be a histogram that we're looking at in order to tell the shape of distribution. If this was, now these are incomplete. They don't have a title. They don't have numbers. They don't have labels or anything. I just kind of sketched these quickly so we can look at them. What kind of distribution is this? Go ahead and pause and answer the kind of distributions that these are. Skewed left, skewed right, symmetric, flat, or other. All right, so hopefully you paused. If I kind of trace my pen on this one, I see that it's actually pretty symmetric. What happens over here is all the way to the same to the middle. It's symmetric. If I trace my pencil on this one, I see it is pretty symmetric as well. Now it's not perfectly symmetric. Here it's 2 dots and here it's 3, but generally speaking, that's pretty symmetric. Here, if I take my pen or pencil and kind of trace what's happening here, if it's a slide, you would see you would slide right. So this is skewed right. And this one, if I took my pen or pencil and traced what was happening here, I would say that's other. It's not one of these forms. It's just kind of random. It's not skewed left or skewed right. It's not symmetric. Flat, remember, is where it's, pretty consistent across. So this one's other. It's not ones that we've talked about. All right, Mr. Chine and I are on the Schoology Conference if you have any questions. So make sure you go through this practice video, pause and practice and get the answers. Let us know if you have any questions. Make sure you're ready to take the test at 8:30 on Wednesday morning. You have 90 minutes from 8:30 to 10 o'clock. They need to be submitted as a PDF by 10 o'clock, and you are held by the honor code. Honor, integrity, and respect. We want to see what you know, not what you're able to text and ask your friends, not what your friends know. We want to know what you know. All right, guys, we know you can do it. Good luck, and let us know if you have any questions. Thanks.